if there were just 3 exercises I could ever do again to be a stronger, faster runner, well, this split squat is the first of them. I'll tell you why in a second. Now, of course, there are so many exercises and so many different reasons to choose so many different exercises. So this whole idea of if there are only 3, it's kind of a thought experiment and not a lot more. But I want to show you really 3 of the biggest bang for the buck exercises for us runners. This split squat and the way in which it gets you working the 2 sides of the body, 2 legs in opposite directions, just like in our running stride, is so, so powerful. So you set up with this long stance. I'm trying to show you on a bit of diagonal so you get multiple kind of perspectives of this. But you set up with this long stance. You set the position of your pelvis to start with. So gently squeeze your butt on this rear leg. Draw your belly button in. And we're going to come down on one plane of motion. And the first resistance that most of us will feel is as we get to the bottom, we feel a little bit of a stretch down the front of the thigh on the rear leg. Those hip flexors beginning to rear their heads, because so many of us are quite tight through our hip flexors. And trust me, doing these slow with control, working 3 seconds on the way down. So look, tilt the pelvis, squeeze your butt, 3, 2, 1, and then 1 up, pushing through the front heel, really works eccentrically to lengthen these hip flexors more effectively. Once you start doing this for a few weeks, a few times per week, than hip flexor stretching ever would for you. And you're not only working these muscles, so muscles like iliopsoas and rectus femoris, through range of motion, you're strengthening through range, while you're also driving into hip flexion on the other side. So getting you loading your glutes on the other leg and pushing, particularly through a co-contraction of glutes, hamstrings, and quads, to push you from the bottom of the movement up to the top. Trust me, 3 sets of 15 on each side will make a heck of a difference once you've started doing that on a regular basis. I work on the principle that twice a week is maintenance, 3 times a week, you're going to start to feel a bit of benefit. Now, obviously, once you're doing one side, you need to make sure you do the other. I'm not going to spend ages talking about this side, but there are a couple of things I want to show you. Firstly, let's make sure that as we come down, we don't just shift forwards. I've got a bit of a restriction because of the broken toe in the past. I've got a bit of a restriction in the big toe joint on this side. So I have to really work to make sure that I don't compensate. I don't roll across it, so I don't turn the foot out and roll. I also don't just simply come back and forth like this. I have to come down, 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 and up. The other thing is stability side to side. If you're wobbly as you do these, let's not have you setting yourself up on a tightrope, okay? Hip width feet will give you a wider base of support, much more stability. It's not a balance exercise. You can turn it into a balance exercise once you get good at it, but hip width stance to start with, slow, 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 and push is much easier and will allow you, much easier to control, and will allow you to control knee position and just focus on building strength. When you get good at it, that's when you can go into this walking a tightrope type position, and you've got to actually work to maintain this side to side stability at the same time. Now, when it comes to balance and stability, that's the next step, the next exercise I'm picking for my 3, and it's a single leg deadlift. Really simple. Again, I'll try and show you this diagonal to start with. So from here, we're simply going to stand on one leg. I want to go high knee. I'll talk about that in a second. High knee to start with. From here, we're going this hand down to opposite side big toe. Bend at the knee, bend at the hip, but we're going hip first. So as we come down, we hinge at the hip, little knee bend. We come down, touch the big toe, knee through at the top. Down, 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 loading glutes, loading a bit of hamstring, up at the top. Now, as we come down, the reason why we're going opposite hand to opposite foot is, if anything, it'll be easier for you to control the position of the knee. We want the knee to stay straight throughout this. We don't want to see drifting in towards the midline. If you do, allow yourself, be kind to yourself. Give yourself a little bit of a finger touch to start with, and just work to build strength through range. Feels weird holding on. Bit of strength through range to start with. As you get stronger and better at it, you'll wean yourself off your support, be it a wall, squat rack, whatever it is, doesn't matter, door frame, doesn't matter. Knee control, really important, but also it's not just a single leg squat. Okay, so we're not just bending at the knee and coming down. Okay, we're thinking hip first. So from here, knee through, we are hip drives back, almost like someone's pulling you back from the waist. Hip drives back, that lowers those glutes and hammies, and then incorporate a little knee bend so you can get down there, touch, and this knee coming through helps you to activate the cross extensor reflex, which basically is a reflex where the harder you drive into hip flexion on this side, the easier it is for you to use your glutes on the other side. There are so many balance and stability exercises we can do as runners. Of course, for some people, honestly, a lot of people, that will be quite challenging. Heck, it's challenging for me. You don't have to start there. You can start with some simple balancing. Just holding your balance for a while. Just simply going balancing. Then eyes closed is a challenge in and of itself. You realize how visual we are as creatures, how we set these kind of visual anchors to understand where we are in 3D space. Take that away, it's actually, you can see how hard my foot and ankle are having to work now to maintain the balance, because I'm having to rely on that internal proprioception. So if that's tough, the single leg deadlift, let's work on that. And there's actually a free 7-day challenge on the Bulletproof Runners website. I'll link down in the description where you can check that out. It just for a week will take you through step by step, and you'll be amazed how much progress you can make in such a seemingly simple yet challenging exercise as a single leg deadlift, just with a bit of intentional practice. So go check that out, but not before you potentially have a laugh at my expense. So I'm filming this live, if you haven't figured that out already. Like many middle-aged men, skipping is not my forte. And to be honest, as I train this, a lot of the time, the reason I'm showing you, we'll deal with this first. The reason I'm showing you is because low-level plyometrics for us runners, it's a game changer. It's huge. Plyometrics doesn't have to mean box jumps and all the funky stuff we see NFL players do on Instagram. It's not about that. Instead, plyometrics for us guys means little bunny hops, little ankle pogos, back and forth, side to side, double leg, single leg. That just builds a little bit of spring through the ankles. But partially because of the potential for this looking really embarrassing on camera, but also because it's a great whole body exercise, the stiffness you need to generate from top down, skipping is great. So let's give it a go. Okay, stiff at the ankles, clench my glutes, engage my core, focusing on one point on the ground. I'm gonna stop before it gets embarrassing and I screw up. Anyway, look, plyometrics, fantastic for building ankle stiffness and spring. But if your ankles are not, and your calves are not conditioned for that, it could be a step too far. The only way to test that is through a really, really simple test that I detail in the video right over here. So go and check that out. You might surprise yourself in terms of how ready or not ready your calves are, strength-wise, so not just this, running in general. Okay, go check that out. A lot of runners can't do this.